Hello and welcome to today's training. Today, I am going to create a training or run you through to create your own content schedule. So if you're joining live, pop if you actually already have a content schedule with a yes, then you probably don't need to watch this video. And if no, you just type no. If you're watching replay, pop in #replay so that I know who's actually watching it. The reason why we want to create a content schedule is that, those coaches who are just not showing up at all. And this doesn't have to be you, right? This can just be the person next to you or someone that you might know. But it's one of the biggest struggles that coaches have when they're not showing up at all. Because we know that content creation is definitely important, right? It's pretty much a huge chunk of your marketing. And I always like to say that signing clients is a series of action steps, obviously the right action steps. And content creation is definitely one of them. So in order to have a schedule in it that actually allows us to first show a ball, because the reason when we're not taking action is literally, one of the reasons is that we're just not clear enough. If you are not clear enough, or your brain doesn't really know what to do, and we're going into the overwhelm and overthinking and just making everything so much more complicated than it actually is. Hi, Alison, nice that you're here. The other reason that we definitely want to have a content schedule, it's more about these people. Okay, so then even if you're taking the action, if you're showing up, the next step is then to actually show up consistently. Because popping out with your content once and then you get lost over an entire week or a month or no one has heard about anything of you, it's really hard to sign clients that way. So consistency is one of the most important parts in a business, because consistency also develops trust, because understand that a lot of people need some time to develop trust, and by being consistent, by knowing that you're there, is something they can trust on, right? It's something they can rely on. So they're subconsciously way more likely to actually want to work with you because they see you as stable, as someone they can rely, as someone they can trust. So that's a great part, just by showing up consistently, just by being there for your audience, to already increase your chance to actually sign clients just by showing up consistently, right? So having the consistency in there and being frequently up there is definitely important. But then also we need to focus on the third mistake a lot of coaches are doing, is that they're not having a balance, meaning that they're either creating so much how-to content, so much value, right? Like giving so much away, but they're not signing clients. So they're kind of staying in the friend zone. And the other one can be when people are asking the whole time to, I don't know, like to do something, right? To book a call, to get your lead magnet, to buy of you, right? When we're asking too much and not giving enough, people kind of see through that quite quick, and then it drops off. It may start quick at the beginning, but then it drops off because people already see this person doesn't give value. So it's really important that we need to find the balance in between. So a content schedule helps you with all three things. Well, this content schedule I'm going to create with you, because as you know me, I'm not only focusing on the tactics, I always focus a little bit more on the mindset and the psychology behind it to really make it impactful. So when you're having a content schedule and following this example, you actually make sure that you are visible, that you create raving fans because you're showing up consistently and give amazing value, but also generate consistent leads, pretty much like a never-ending pipeline of it. I'm going to show you exactly how to find the balance in between. So I always like to talk about magnetic marketing. We want to make our marketing magnetic, right? So in order to have a magnetizing marketing strategy, there are three components. And I have to talk about this in order to give you a great content schedule, because obviously it can just give you some kind of post, but I want to make it impactful. I want to make it powerful. So the three important impacts, the three important things we need to work on in order to make our marketing magnetic is, the first one, we need to focus that we always increase our audience. So it's the audience attraction part. That's one part of your marketing strategy, meaning getting more eyeballs in front of you, building up your audience, right? If that's numbers, if that's your email list, whatever that is, but that's pretty much what we consistently want to increase. The second one is that we have an intentional content strategy. So think about the content schedule I'm going to create here is the skeleton. So it's pretty much the outline of a body, and the intentional content strategy is the meat that actually gets your muscles to move, right? In the Dream Client Formula, I have entire modules that go in depth into how to do it, right? Where you get the skeleton and the muscles, and more importantly, how to shift the beliefs in your audience to get them to take the action. For this here, we're going to focus more on the skeleton. And the third part of a magnetic marketing strategy is lead generation, right? So we have to have this great balance of attracting the audience, of having great content, and having also the lead generation in it. So now I'm going to add those three things into the actual content strategy. I always like to make it super easy for my clients. And that's why I decided that there are actually only 5 types of content that you have to master, right? Only 5 different types. And once you're getting really good at those different types, it doesn't really take that much energy for you, right? We're building here the muscle in order to create great content. So, and that's pretty much what we're going into, and how we can develop the 5 different types almost into a schedule. Also, the schedule is definitely up to you, how much content you want to create a week. If you want to show up daily, if you want to show up 3 to 5 times, that's totally up to you. I'm just going to give you an example and you can make it your own, right? It's always important that what I teach you and what I show you is one way, but I give you the main gist of it so that you can easily make it your own and still be successful. Because the truth is, there's so many different ways to create a content strategy, and the one that's going to make it work is the one that you commit to, right? So let's get started. Type in the chat box if you're excited to get started. Have a paper and a pen, a piece of paper. Yeah, a piece of paper and a pen ready so you can outline and draw your own content schedule. So we're going to start off with the 5 different content types. I'm going to kind of give you them in the order, and then you can simply just plug and play them into your own schedule. Because here's the thing. When we're actually connecting specific content pieces into a specific day and scheduling it in, now the chances that it's actually going to happen is 50% higher. Actually, almost 100%, depends on how committed you are to your calendar. And I suggest you to be 100% committed to your calendar, because otherwise everything you plan doesn't make any sense. So the first type of content is what I like to call the attract type of content. What I said before, we always want to make sure that we attract our audience, and I want you to put that into your content schedule. So you want to write down attract. So what attract content, what type of content that actually means is where people get to know and also kind of start to like you. So if you think about a movie you've watched, and you may think about someone asking, what are the 5 components or the 5 things that happened in that movie? You can't necessarily remember all the 5 components, but you know the key actors. If you know their names or not, but you know definitely their faces, right? You know who's in that, like the role, the male guy, the woman, or whatever. So it's because our brain always concentrates on characters, right? It's this deep inside the subconscious mind that we're focusing and remembering characters. So that also works for our coaching business. Understand that people don't buy coaching, they buy coaches. Even if you're just selling some kind of programs, because if people don't connect with you, are not really like on the same wavelength with you, they're not going to buy. They can like your content, but if they don't like you, they're not going to buy. So here it's not about to try to appeal to everyone. It's about to try to appeal to your dream clients, right? The clients you want to work with, because let's face it, you can't please everyone, right? So what we're going to focus on here in the attract content is sharing either, for example, that can be a story, like your story, your origin story, like how you started out, but it can also be something that you truly believe in. So a really good example here is that if you're a coach and you're quite like a mindset coach or like a life coach, chances are really high that you help people overcome limiting beliefs. So that's always my go-to example, because lots of people or lots of coaches, they don't necessarily know how to actually communicate that. So what you can do is you can here really say the importance of why, right? Why is it so important for you to actually change beliefs? So you can use a story of where you had a limiting belief and you overcame it and what the results were, in order to drive the point down into that you are for helping people changing beliefs, right? But people are connecting that to you. Another great one is where you can share something that you're against, like what do you don't like, what do you are not for. For me, for example, I in my marketing, I'm kind of against at Facebook ads when coaches are starting out. Like it's a huge mistake, and I'm definitely standing for that. I see so many coaches who just jump into the Facebook ads without knowing anything and wasting so much money before they even qualified and validated their actual message. So that's something I'm against that. I'm also against at coaches who are starting out who want to jump straight into the passive income, right? I'm just a coach, right? I'm a business coach who helps coaches, but coaches who actually are passionate about changing people's life, who want to get their hands dirty and their feet wet and actually have that experience of really coaching the life transformation and not focusing too much on all the passive income stream, right? So when you're starting out, get your hands dirty, get your feet wet, and get changing lives. So these are kind of example for the attraction part, because when you post something like that, it can also be just like a message or so. So for example, even if you have a cool quote that stands for something against something, that's something you can place in here. These pieces, they don't have to be super long. They can also be just super short, right? But when you're putting that into, it's kind of the reason why, right? And that doesn't have to be your core why about your entire business. That can be the reason why about some specific thing that's in your coaching service, for example, the limiting beliefs. And I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to use that theory later on. So that is the why part in the attraction part. Now, the second type of content that you want to create is connection content. That's kind of where you start your audience to engage. So that's the goal of that piece of content. The goal of the attraction post is actually to show up, people are feeling attracted to you, so to speak, liking you, but also they're more likely to share what you have to say, because you're sharing your why, your message, and when they stand for that as well, they're more likely to share it as well, which is really great. So you get exposure to other people as well. The goal of the second type of content, the connection part, where you connect, is to engage. So you want to turn those lurkers into engaged people. So there's so many people who might be watching you, but not everyone is commenting or liking your post, right? That's always the case. So we want to make sure that we kind of get those lurkers into the active, into the front row, to start helping them to engage. So here it's really great to like. It's a very weak engagement, but what we're really focusing on is to comment. And it actually doesn't really matter that much of what type of engagement you're going to create. Because the purpose here is to create your audience, because it also shows the Facebook or Instagram algorithm that your audience are active, and the more engagement you have, the more likely is that Facebook and Instagram actually shows your content, shows that piece to other people. And also, I'm going to share this later. So that's why we want to have the engagement post there. So it doesn't necessarily matter what we talk about. I do like staying consistent and staying intentional. So I'm not necessarily sharing what you had for lunch this morning, right? That could be a post, a connection point, and people putting down what they had lunch, not necessarily this morning, but obviously breakfast this morning or lunch and midday. But how you can actually put that in a little bit more related to your niche. So for example, a relationship example here for you, Alison, would be, what is one of the biggest topics you always fight with your partner about, right? Or you can have it this or that. What creates more of an argument? What TV show to watch or what to eat, you know, and have an A/B, and then people can comment what they're more arguing about. Like, that is an example, but it's also kind of related to that niche. So the whole purpose is just get people to engage in order for Facebook to show, yes, you're actually doing it right, and people are showing up and seeing your content. The third piece of content is one of my favorite ones, and that is impact content. I like to call it impact because I want it to be impactful, right? That's kind of where your how-to content fits in. It's kind of where you're demonstrating your value, right? You can always teach a lot, but I'm a way more bigger fan when you create some kind of how-to content, actually demonstrating your value. Meaning, instead of just sharing 3 tips, kind of show your audience how good you are in what you do. This video is a demonstration content video, right? I'm giving you lots of value, but I'm also demonstrating how good I am with content creation. So, right, that's like pretty much what it is. So that's what you want to do here. And there are specific ways of how to create great content and great trainings. Obviously, tips and how to trainings is one way. Mistakes is a really great type of piece as well that you can use. And mistakes is really good because it fires up and gets the attention of the subconscious mind, because we always try to avoid pain. That's also why I put into the beginning of the video what the mistakes are, right? In order to grab your attention. Just a little full disclosure here to see actually what I'm doing. Let me know in the comments how you're going so far. Does the 3 types, we already did 3 out of 5 so far into this training, the 2 more. But let me know, does it, like, thumbs up, thumbs down? Does it create value? Are you writing it down, creating your own content schedule? And does it already give you some kind of clarity to get all the confusion? Because now you only need to focus on 5 different content types and actually focus on those and getting really good at them, right? Just in order to recap, the first one was the attraction, right? The why you. The second one is the connection part, the engagement. The third one is here, the impact, where you want to demonstrate value, right? You want to give. And especially when you're starting out, you want to make sure that you kind of wow your audience, because they haven't met you before. And the more value giving, because understand that your entire business is a long-term game. It really is. Obviously, there are ways to sign clients quickly, but we also want to build up long way, consistently. And we want to make sure that your audience gets the impression of you, of someone who delivers great value, right? Who demonstrates great value. Because then when you actually make an offer, it's going to be so much easier to actually have people signing up with you. So it's not really these, you know, when people talk about big launches and all these launches, and over time they get better. It's because they've been sharing and showing up consistently over time, so that the whole sales wasn't only built upon this launch when you're showing up, but also all the work you've done before. So this is quite important. You want to make sure that you're doing that at least weekly. So I'm going to do it Wednesday, right? This is Wednesday evening. I am showing up on my Facebook group. I've been showing up for over a year now, consistently every single time, every single week in my Facebook group with a training video. That's a non-negotiable. And that's really cool, because when you have your content schedule and plan and connected to days, you're turning those things into a non-negotiable. So you're helping your brain to make less decisions, because it's not about, should I create content? What should I create? It's like, oh, sweet, Wednesday training day. And you're wiring it in so that over the weeks, it's becoming so much easier. And you kind of train your brain always to make those decisions for you, because they're already pre-made. Anyways, let's get moving into content type number 4. It's cool, as it already feels clearer, that's amazing. Content type number 4, that is the invite content. It also can be the sales content, but I want to turn it around and just because what sales really is pretty much invite. And I want to make sure that you're having your focus, especially when you're starting out, more on the invitation. And the invitation means here, that is literally where we get our client or our audience to raise their hand to show some interest, right? We want them to show that they're interested in what we have to offer. Here, it's really, really, really important that you ask for the next step, not the end step. I see so many coaches doing this wrong when they go, not necessarily even in their audience, but in other people's audience, and pitching their program, pitching their discovery calls, asking these huge commitment offers of people who've never heard about them before. Right? Don't do that. We always want to ask them for the very next thing, and for the very next thing that can sometimes just be comment below, right? And when we're starting out, there are different scale of commitment. Joining your program and working with you is a really, really high commitment because it's a high risk, right? Because people are investing money, time, and energy. That's a high risk, high commitment. Booking for a call is also a little bit more of a higher commitment, even though it's free, but people are paying for their time, and they're kind of most likely that, of course, towards the end, there might be the opportunity that you actually talk about joining your program, right? So asking for a call when someone never heard about you before, people won't book that up, right? Unless you have a really, really great pitch. And what you want to focusing on at the beginning is actually by delivering more information, by showing a little bit more value before you actually ask for the offer. So a lead magnet, a PDF, something like that you could offer, that they can comment below in order to get it, right? Kind of raise the hand. It's like, oh yes, I want that. That is a really great way we can invite them to the next step. If you have a Facebook group, that's a great way where you can ask them to join your Facebook group. So like a softer invite, so to speak. And then over the time, you can ask for more and more commitment because people already built a relationship with you. In my Dream Client Formula, I show you different ways how to accelerate the relationship actually with your audience so that you actually can start asking those questions even earlier. So that's number 4. Yeah, that's right. Number 4, the invite post. I have an entire training on that, and I show you my example of an invite post where it also shows a lot of education there as well. And I show you exactly what I did, the entire structure, because I have an acronym for it. It's called FASTER, the FASTER formula, how you can create content pretty much faster, but also impactful. So use the entire example of how I signed a one-on-one client worth over $4,000 into my business just with this one post, also booked lots of calls, and I increased my email list just from this one post. So if you want to know more important, like what I did, but more importantly, why I wrote what I did and having that training plus the free guide, just pop into the comments content and I'm going to send you that free training and you get the free guide as well. The training is about 45 minutes to an hour, I think, where it goes into detail, but you can also just click into the PDF where you get the entire structure of that content for free. So just pop in the comments here below content. I'm going to reach out to you and send you that for free so you know exactly what to do in order to actually get people in the invite stage to say yes. Because guess what? This is your part. This is the first next step they can actually do in order to sign up with you, right? Like that's one of the first spots. If people are just consuming your content, you're not going to sign any clients. Like we have to raising their hands and kind of need to move them further along the buyer's journey. So getting really good at this lead generation is absolutely important. So the whole thing is explained there with the training, exactly how and why I did it as well. Then the last type of content is the objection killer. So people have objections in terms of why they wouldn't buy, right? Why people wouldn't buy, why you wouldn't buy for a specific person. Like what could be some kind of objections that you may have that would not close the deal, right? That would work as a block, so to speak. What you can do in your content is actually picking up those objections and reframing them. A huge part, and that's really what I show in the Dream Client Formula about the, the muscle part in your content strategy. This is the skeleton, but really having the muscle in order to move people is very shifting beliefs. Killing their objections is one of them. For example, an objection could say that they don't have enough time. So we can focus on the objection on time and, turn it into with a story that time is actually just a priority, because everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. But if you're never prioritizing yourself, you're never going to get what you want, or most likely that the specific problems your audience are having is because they don't prioritize themselves. And that's where they have the problem in the first place, so to speak, right? So kind of using that objection and kind of turn it into the reason why they're even having that problem. That is just one example. But some other examples that could be, you can use that objection example also in terms of when people had bad experiences. So like any kind of reasons that you have heard when people actually were telling you that, right? If you had a conversation with someone and they wanted to sign up, but they didn't because of this one thing, use this one thing in future so that you can frame those objections out. Obviously, every single type of the 5 types go in my program into detail, where you have the entire examples around it, pretty much with an example and the template, so you know exactly how to do it and transfer it into your own business. The good thing is with the objection, because I know that some people would say like, ooh, should I really make them even aware of the objection? The thing is, if they do have the objection, raise it, right? Don't pretend it's not there. Just talk openly about it and let's frame it out. Because if you're trying to ignore it, it's definitely not gonna leave, right? Because it stays there, whether you say it or you don't say it. So that's pretty much important to actually utilize that. So when you do that, your content then actually starts to do the selling for you. And the greater your content is, right? The more you put into your content, the more it speaks for you and it more sells your offer as well, so that you actually don't have a hard time to then convert a lead into a paying client. These are the 5 content types that you only need to focusing on. So now we have the attract part, we have the content part, the connect part, we have the impact type, we have the invite type, and obviously we have the kill the objection part. Right now, connect those content types into your schedule, into the days where you want to show up. If you want to show up 5 times, it's fine. If you want to create it over a period of 2 weeks or so, that's totally fine. Or every second week, you're going to do the 3rd part or so, that's all fine. But understand that they don't have to take that long, right? For example, the connection part, that's such a super small post that you can create and that's done. But having that into the schedule, knowing exactly what to do, when to do, having that clarity, now building that commitment to that calendar because it's scheduled in, so you have to do it, right? It's a whole nother thing as well. I'm pretty sure as you're watching the entire video that you can see how powerful it is, not only to have a content schedule, but also the reason behind each type of posts, right? That it's not only content is this massive confusion game, but hey, there's actually a strategy behind it. But more importantly, the strategy focuses on human behavior, right? Because we always want to make sure that our audience is moving closer to in the buyer's journey in order to sign up with you. If you're not focusing on that, if you're only showing up, you're leaving so much money, literally, on the table, but also the lives you could have changed because those people just didn't get convinced. So If you want to have that free training from that, how you actually generate leads while also creating value in an offer and get clients to get to the next step, put in the comments content, and I'm going to send you that free training. Plus you also get the free PDF guide. If you want to learn more about the Dream Client Formula, my signature program that helps coaches to sign clients consistently, meaning every single week, even if you're just starting out, you can put in the comments client, and I'm going to reach out to you and kind of see if you're a good fit for that program and all the details that's included. I hope that you got a lot of value and can really see how powerful a clear strategy, but also in general, understanding what content creation is actually about, and that you can see this in this video. And I'm going to look forward to see you very soon, next week, definitely for this training. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.